Dan, could you elaborate a little bit on, in your recent blog post on remediating assessment, you talked about positioning portfolios correctly. So can you explain how to productively position a portfolio?
Well, portfolios are really, we talk about a positioning assessment more broadly for participation because we're very interested in using assessment to keep it from undermining participation, which it often does, like with tests. And if you're clever about it, you can actually use it to foster participation. So if you take portfolio or the process of creating an artifact and creating meaning, and that's what when you're really making portfolio artifacts, what you should be doing is creating meaning in that process. It shouldn't be just about filling out a sheet. It should be about doing something that's personally meaningful. So in the research that comes, really a lot of it is anthropological notions, and folks like Jim Greeno and Glenda Hull. Melissa Grisolfi, my colleague in learning sciences, is actually responsible for helping me understand a lot of this much better than I did before. She talks about disciplinary positioning, which is positioning content. So content is often positioned as something to be consumed. And that's very different than positioning content as concepts that are really tools that you can use to change your practice. So that's, again, that's disciplinary positioning. So you can use portfolios to help students see, for instance, what are the consequences of some idea for practice. So rather than just engaging with something really conceptually, like do you understand it, you can use a portfolio, if you're clever about it, to say, how does this idea impact your practice? It's not a trivial difference, and it's in terms of learning and using these ideas, it's a big difference. Then there's this notion of interpersonal positioning. So if you use portfolios or assessment more broadly correctly, or more productively, you can position individuals as not consumers of knowledge, and not even just as producers of knowledge, but so the media scholar Henry Jenkins has this notion of prosumers. Well, I found a lot of inspiration in that because you're both consuming knowledge and producing knowledge, right? So that you can use assessment to change the way that people interact with content and the way they interact with each other. They're no longer competitors with other students. But what I'm really excited about, and actually this last week we spent a lot of time talking about this, is the relationship between faculty and students. So for example, rather than just, and it's more than just positioning faculty as a mentor rather than a sort of producer of knowledge, that actually, what I'm intrigued by is the way that a good participatory assessment practices with portfolios can make the faculty a prosumer as well, because they're getting new knowledge from their students and they're sharing new knowledge. So in a nutshell, that's it. So you've got your interpersonal positioning and your disciplinary positioning, and that's, I guess, in a nutshell, how you can support participation with portfolios.